My name is Ethan Morris. I'm 23 years old, and I live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm not the type of person people usually notice. I've never been the loudest guy in a room or the one with the strongest opinions. Most of my life, I just went along with whatever was happening around me. My mom says that's both my strength and my weakness. I guess she's right. I grew up in a small apartment with her and my younger brother, Noah. After finishing high school, I didn't go to college. Not because I didn't want to, just because I didn't really know what I wanted at all. So I did what most people like me do. I took a part-time job at a hardware store to help with bills and keep myself busy. The work wasn't hard, the people were nice, and the routine felt safe. Maybe that's why I didn't notice how slowly I was drifting off track. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, just small decisions that seemed harmless at the time. It started when I met a group of guys through a friend. They were older, louder, and much more relaxed about everything. They didn't stress about work, they didn't care about schedules, and they always seemed to be having fun. I liked being around them because for once I didn't feel like the quiet kid in the corner. They treated me like I belonged. We started hanging out almost every day. At first it was harmless, watching games, eating cheap food, laughing at stupid jokes. But gradually they became the center of my world. If they stayed out late, I stayed too. If they skipped responsibilities, I didn't question it. It felt good to be part of something, even though deep down I knew it wasn't going anywhere. My work started to slip little by little.
I showed up late sometimes. I stopped volunteering for extra shifts. I ignored messages from my manager when I was out with them. Each time I told myself, it's just once, it doesn't matter. But everything matters when the small mistakes start piling up. The turning point in my life wasn't a big accident or some dramatic disaster. It was something painfully normal, something that probably happens to thousands of people, but somehow it hit me at exactly the wrong moment. One night, we were at the usual apartment. The place was messy, like always. Clothes on the couch, empty cans on the table, the smell of fast food that never really went away. We stayed up late talking nonsense, watching a game we didn't even care about, just killing time. I had an early shift the next morning, but I didn't leave. I kept telling myself I'd wake up on time. Around 11, my phone buzzed. It was my manager asking if I could take an earlier shift because one worker had called out. I saw the message. I locked my phone. I told myself, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I fell asleep at almost 3 a.m. on the same old couch, still wearing yesterday's clothes. When I opened my eyes again, the sun was too bright. My head was heavy. I grabbed my phone. 10:40 a.m. My shift started at 8. My stomach dropped. I rushed to work without even washing my face. When I walked in, my manager didn't yell. That made it worse. He just looked tired. Tired of giving me chances. Tired of covering. Tired of pretending. Like I wasn't messing everything up.
He said my name quietly, like he didn't want to make a scene. Ethan, we need to talk. I knew what was coming, but hearing it still hit hard. I'm sorry, but we can't keep doing this. You've missed too many mornings. We need someone reliable. I think it's time we let you go. I stood there, nodding, pretending I understood, pretending I agreed, pretending I didn't feel a mix of shame and anger at myself. That job wasn't my dream, but it was structure, stability, something solid. Losing it so casually made me feel like a complete failure. When I told the guys what happened later that day, they didn't treat it like a big deal. One shrugged and said, "You'll find something else." Another laughed and said, "Man, that place sucked anyway." They went back to their conversations, and I realized something cold and simple. My life had fallen apart, and no one even paused to notice. That night, I walked home instead of taking the bus. I needed the space. The world felt heavier than usual. Lights from passing cars blurred a bit, not because I was emotional, just because I was exhausted, physically and mentally. When I got home, my mom was at the kitchen table paying bills. I could tell right away she knew something was wrong. She's always been like that. She doesn't need explanations. She sees the truth in your face.
"What happened?" she asked. I wanted to lie. I wanted to say, "Nothing, I'm fine." But the words didn't come out. I sat down, stared at the table, and finally told her everything. How I'd been drifting, how I messed up, how I lost my job. I didn't break down crying or anything dramatic. I just felt empty. She didn't yell. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just nodded slowly and said, "Ethan, you have to decide what kind of man you want to be. No one else can choose that for you." That sentence stayed with me for days. For the first time in a long while, I actually looked at my life. Not the version I told myself was fine, but the real version, the one falling apart quietly. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't unlucky. I was simply careless. Every small decision, every ignored message, every night I stayed out when I should have been responsible, it all led me here. That was the moment I knew things had to change. I stopped seeing the guys as much. They didn't ask why. They didn't check in. That told me everything I needed to know about what those friendships really were. I took any job I could get. The first months were hard. Early mornings, low pay, awkward conversations explaining why I was looking for work. But slowly, step by step, I started building back what I'd lost. Not perfectly, not quickly, but honestly. I learned how to show up on time again, how to say no when I needed to, how to take responsibility without excuses, how to rebuild trust with my family, and the hardest part, how to forgive myself for being the person I used to be. People think life changes with one big event, but for me, it changed because of a reality check that was painfully ordinary. Losing my job wasn't a tragedy.
It was a mirror. It showed me the person I had become and the person I was afraid to stay. Now, when I look back, I'm grateful for that day. Not because it was easy, because it wasn't, but because it woke me up. It forced me to grow up. It pushed me toward a version of myself I didn't know I could be. I'm not perfect. I still have a long way to go. But at least now, I'm walking in the right direction. And that's my real story.